My beloved monster and me, we go everywhere together. Wearing a raincoat that has 4 sleeves, gets us through all types of weather. Hello, everyone. Now, you may be wondering why I started out singing a portion of My Beloved Monster by the Eels. I think that's what it was called, or the Eels. Right, the song was featured in Shrek. Well, the reason I did that is because today is a most special day for me. Today is the day that 6 years ago I found RJ. Or RJ found me, or found us. I'm not quite sure how it goes. So I thought that today I would make a video in honor of him and share the story of how he came to be a part of not just my life, but my family's life. So today is the story of RJ. So his story starts on February 16th, 2014. That particular day, it was snowing, or it had been snowing, and so I was out running errands, as I typically do over the weekend, and I see this little white, mainly white. It was snowing, so it was covered in snow. I see this white cat walking up to me in the grass. There's a lot of stray cats where I lived and still live. I don't live. I live in a different apartment now, but I don't live too far from where I originally found him. So this white cat walks up to me, and he's thin, and he's looking up at me, and he's meowing at me, and I'm like, let me at least take him in. Let me at least take him in. So I call the family member that I've been living with for a while now. I look after them and take care of them because they're very ill. And I tell this person, I'm like, look, there's this cat out here. It's hungry. Let's take the cat in for the night. And my family member says, no, if we take in the cat, you're never gonna want to give up the cat. I'm like, come on, have a heart. The cat, is cold. It's freezing out here. I'm cold. It's snowing. I'm not saying we have to keep it, but let's at least, try to take it in for a night, right? Just to make sure it doesn't freeze to death. And I keep getting adamant no's, right? So I end up calling. I end up calling animal control, and I ask them what to do. And their response to me is basically, is it rabid? Is it dangerous? I'm like, no, it doesn't look rabid. The cat isn't violent or anything. And so they're like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not going to come out there for it. It's like, well, you can try to catch it, but if you do, it's your own risk, I guess you could say, right? If anything happens to you or to the animal. So I'm getting no's all around, and I don't know what to do. And on top of all this, right? On top of all of this, I have errands to run on that particular day, and the errands are very time sensitive. So I don't know what to do, right? My family member won't allow me to bring them in. Animal control won't come pick them up. And I have this skinny white cat looking up at me. It's like, what do I do? So I made the heartbreaking choice I had to go run my errands. I had to get them done that particular day. At that time, there was no getting around it. So I made the heartbreaking decision to leave and literally just pray and hope, honestly, that he would end up okay. So, excuse me. So I end up having to run my errands, and I'm hoping that in the weather that he found a safe place to stay. Cause my thought at the time was, okay, if I can get these errands done quickly and I can find him again, I'll just pick him up and just basically say he's staying the night, and there's nothing you can do about it. Is basically the decision I come to. But of course, the only way that's going to work is if I can find him again, right? And unfortunately, I could not put these off to another day. I had to get them done at that time. So I go get them done. I come back, and I can't find him. The snowing had stopped by that point, but I could not find him for anything. I'm looking around. I'm trying to find paw prints, anything that I can think of that I can find, and I can't find anything. So I walk into the apartment completely, not just dejected, but heartbroken, honestly. And so my family member sees me, and I don't want to talk and anything like that. And they're like, well, what's wrong with you? And honestly, as much as I hate to admit it, I mean, I just broke down into a pile of tears, and I'm hysterical, crying my heart out. And I explained to my family member that I feel like I let him die. I honestly thought he was dead. I'm not even gonna front. He was skinny, he was white, I couldn't find him. I thought the worst had happened, and I thought that I had made the wrong decision. And so I'm like, this poor animal needed our help, and you wouldn't let me bring it in, and I made the wrong choice, and the poor thing's probably dead, and all that stuff. And so my family member's like, oh God, you're totally overreacting, but okay, fine. Right? They're like, okay, if it will make you happy, if you'll stop crying, go back out and see if you can find the cat. And if you can, we will keep it for the night. Right? So I open the door thinking that, there's this isn't going to work out. Right? I'm thinking that he's frozen over in a block of ice somewhere. But interestingly enough, quite literally, as I opened the door to my apartment at the time, just as I'm opening the door, my neighbors right next door are opening their door, and out comes the cat who would become RJ. Apparently, they had decided to take him in from the cold, and that's why I couldn't find him upon my return. And my hand to God, this next part, I'm opening the door, they're throwing him out because they had no intention of keeping him. And so he just walks over and walks right into my apartment. And I literally looked up. I watched him walk in, and I'm just like, he's here. And then he walks into the apartment, and I literally just looked up at the ceiling and just went, God? my hand to God, that is what happened. And then he just threw himself on the bed and fell asleep, which is this photo right here. This is the very first picture I ever took of him. He didn't have a name at that point because we were supposed to be keeping him. My family member was insistent that we were just going to keep him for the night, so I didn't name him. At that time, his name was Stray. And so what happened after that was I decided to take him to the vet and see if he was healthy. And so I go and I look, and I go to the vet at some vet in Forest Hills or whatever it is. And I ended up spending over $300 to get him various tests and whatnot, to get him checked out, to make sure that he wasn't, grievously ill or anything. He didn't look ill. He was just very skinny. But, I just wanted to make sure. It meant that much to me that a cat I didn't even name at that point. I spent $300 on a credit card I was desperately trying to pay down at the time. That's how much it meant to me, even at that point. And so, eventually I come back from the vet's office. RJ is okay. He just has an infection on the bottom of his paws, which wasn't all that serious or anything, but he had to take some medicine. And so My family member is like, okay, but what are we gonna do with this cat? And I'm like, well, I'll ask around and I'll see if he has an owner. When I was at the vet, I asked them to check and see if he was chipped, which he wasn't, which made me think that he didn't have an owner. Although, to be fair, had I put, I think that he had owners at some point because he's very people friendly. And I don't think he was out on his own long enough to become feral. I mean, he walked right up to me. And then, of course, another family, right, my next door neighbors had taken him in. So I don't think he was feral. I don't think that he was out there long enough on his own to be feral. I think that he had a home, but possibly something happened. Maybe they moved or someone died or something. Again, this is just pure speculation on my part, but he's too friendly to have been alone without humans, right, all of his life. You know what I mean? So my first thought is, okay, you know what? This could be, honestly, my thinking was, this could be some person's animal that maybe he ran away, maybe he got lost. And I don't want to keep someone else's pet because it's like, God, what if that was me in that position and someone, just took in my pet. So I decided to again do something very heart wrenching, which was to sign him up for basically like a missing pet register. I looked up the pet ownership rules as they were at that time in New York City, and basically what the rules said was that if you find a stray animal, if nobody comes to claim them in 30 days, then the animal is yours. So, in the interest of fairness and thinking that he had a home somewhere, and I didn't want to keep an animal that, wasn't mine, and I didn't want to take him from whatever family that he may have had, I signed him up for the register, and I gave it the rest of the month of February, and I think up into mid March. So, about a month. I gave it 30 days. And I said, okay, let me do this. Let me put him up on a pet register and see if anybody's missing a cat. I would check that register every day with very mixed feelings because, on the one hand, if he was someone else's pet, and there was someone else out there who loved him, I wanted to return him. But, at the same time, it's like, by that point, I had totally fallen in love with him. I didn't want to give him up. I wanted to keep him. So it was very mixed emotions, and I would look at the list with a bit of dread. It's like it's like the best way I can put it is, I hope that these people find their missing cat, but I don't want this cat to be their missing cat, right? That's the best way I can describe it. So after that, a month passes and no one claims him. I asked around the neighborhood. I asked everybody that I could think of who knew people who had cats or who had cats, if this cat was theirs. And when no one claimed him, we ended up doing the very thing that my family member was afraid of. We ended up keeping him, and that's when I gave him the name of RJ. And RJ is actually a pair of initials, right? Now I know everybody's going to laugh their head off, so get your yucks up now. RJ stands for Rat Jr. Now, yuck it up, laugh, laugh, laugh. The reason why he's named Rat Jr. is because I had like 5 cats over a period of time when I was growing up. And the cat that I loved the most was this cat named Rat. My uncle, when I was a kid, he gave us 2 cats that were brothers, Rat and Smokey. And Rat was the one that, I took to, right? Rat was my cat. And as a little kid is, I was devastated when we eventually had to give Rat away. Smokey ended up dying suddenly. And my family just at that particular time just was not in a place where they could take care of an animal. So after Smokey's death, my mother made it a point to give Rat away for his own interest, which I understand. But of course, when you're a kid and you love an animal, having your own mother take that animal from you and give it up, it hurts, right? It really hurts. So I promised myself. We had a few more cats after that, but by the time I was 10, we had stopped keeping animals. So for about a period of like 5 years, had like five different cats. But after that, right after we stopped having pets at all, I promised myself that if I ever had a pet again on my own as an adult, that regardless of what the cat looked like, regardless of what its gender was, I was going to name the cat RJ in honor of my beloved rat. And interestingly enough, dear God, you guys can't see me, but just talking about this is making me tear up. Don't cry. Don't cry. But anyway, the interesting thing about RJ is that, especially with the white fur and his markings, he actually does look a lot like the rat, like the cat I had and loved so dearly in childhood. So I think that's another reason why, when I was faced with the possibility of him, dying alone and freezing, that I got so upset, because it was like losing rat again. It's like I couldn't do anything the first time because I was too young, and now, here it was sort of replaying itself in its own way, and here I was again, or at least I thought I was at the time, powerless, and I was losing rat all over again. So I think that's why it hit me, or at least part of the reason why it hit me so hard. But it ended up turning out okay. But anyway, back to the story. So we end up, like again, no one claims him, so we decide to keep him, and then I have to go get him fixed. How do I put it? I understand why people get animals fixed. I just wish we didn't have to do that, especially since he's an indoor cat. I'm like, why does an indoor cat need to be fixed? But due to the landlords, they pretty much said, get the cat fixed or you can't keep the cat, and a bunch of other hoops they made me jump through, and in some cases pay for, to keep him. So I'm like, okay, fine. I go get him fixed. I take him to a mobile vet. There was a mobile vet that was actually visiting around the time we had decided to keep him. So I take him there, and I get him chipped, and I get him fixed and everything. And yeah, it's been pretty much that way since. I mean, we've been through a lot since that time, but he's been my stalwart companion. And for a cat, the doctors at the mobile vet told me that they weren't able to determine his true age, which makes sense. He's a stray cat. No one knows when he was born. But they guesstimated that he was between 3 and 4 years old when I found him. And it's been 6 years as of today. So he's around, like, I would say 9 or 10, give or take. But he still hops around like a kitten. He has amazing leaping ability. He's always jumping on windowsills and jumping on the bed and all this other stuff. And he loves people. He loves attention. I always say that I can never take him to work because where I work, where we're on the floor where there's like all administrative offices, and the floor is just very female heavy. It's just a bunch of women working there. I'm like, I could never take him to work because everybody want to steal him. But anyway, it's been a crazy 6 years in my life, and in the life of my family, especially last year, where we were temporarily without a place to stay. Not something I'm really looking to talk about too much at this moment. There will eventually come a time where I go into the full story about that, but I can't really do that right now. But just understand that we're okay, at least as much as we can be. And we have a home now, but even in that, right? Even in that, when we were temporarily displaced, I mean, he was scared. He was very scared, but he didn't run, and he settled down and settled in very quickly. He's been, he's honestly, one of my closest friends, if that makes any sense. Right, he's my closest friend, and he's the closest thing, at least at this point in my life, that I'll probably ever have to a child, right? You want to call me a crazy cat lady and living up to stereotypes about single women, and fine. I wear that label with pride. RJ, out of the 6 years that I've had him, you know, and out of all the people I've ever known in life, RJ is the only being, because he isn't human, but he's the only being to never hurt me, except for like scratching up my forearms when we were learning each other. He's a very physical, bitey, scratchy boy, but he doesn't do that, out of maliciousness or anything. That's just his way. And yeah, he doesn't hurt me, right? He truly shows unconditional love and affection. So, uh, in a very, how do I put it? My life is by no means easy, and it's not gonna get any easier. But in a life that is often stressful, he allows me a little bit of relief, right? And he snuggles up next to me every night, and he's either sleeping by my side or my head or at my feet, right? Or he's licking my face, right, and all that stuff. So I really can't complain, and all I can do is that for however long he has left, and not that he's unhealthy or anything, he's fine, but no one lives forever, and no animal lives forever, and there's gonna come a day, as much as I hate to think about it, there's gonna come a day where I'm gonna lose him, and I keep praying that day off, but sooner or later it's gonna happen, and it's gonna break my heart into 1,000 pieces when it does. But until then, I'm going to do my damnedest, do my level best to take care of him, look after him, and show him the unconditional love that he has shown me. Right? He eats a lot. He loves his chicken. He loves his greenies. He loves attention, and I'm gonna try to do my best by him until the day we have to say goodbye. Damn it, I'm tearing up again. Anyway, so that's the story of RJ. That's the story of how he came into my life 6 years ago on this date. So this is a lot more personal than than I had originally thought it would be. But anyway, that's the vid, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good day, everybody.